All right, Krishna, everyone. This is Achyuta Bhava, and today I'm taking another question in my Bhakti Q&A series. This one comes from someone who is wondering about what we do when we lose motivation in our spiritual practice. What do you do personally when you're not feeling it? Great question. I can only tell you how I've survived, how I, what I do when I have to survive, or what I've done in the past when I have to survive. The simplest answer that I want to say, which is probably obvious, you can almost imagine that I would say it, is you're going to lose motivation. It's natural and it's normal to lose motivation, and don't stop going. Just don't stop. Keep doing it. Your spiritual practice is there for all seasons, for all feelings, for all experiences, including those when you don't feel good or don't like it, or it feels like discipline or duty, but you just got to keep doing it. And the experience of hitting a plateau and then seeing, oh, I thought I had gotten somewhere and now look at those mountains. That happens. And then once again, you find yourself on a new mountain. And then, of course, the experience repeats: new plateau, new mountain, new plateau, new mountain. There's that saying, hills become mountains, mountains become hills. They alternate like that, or I forget if that's the saying, but it's something like that. It's like at first you see something, they become a mountain, and then the things that you thought were mountains are eventually hills, but then there's bigger mountains, and it just keeps going like that. And we have to learn very basically how to embrace that is to not only embrace, but to relish that element of spiritual life. That just like any other relationship, you can't know highs unless you know lows. But maybe even more importantly, you can't know, you can't relish anything unless you're also willing to experience times where it's hard to relish things. They go hand in hand. You can't know one without the other. So that's my general answer. But I have 5 things that I wanted to say. So 1, reframe it. We can change our minds. We can change what we're experiencing by holding it differently in our mind. So, famous athletes will say this, trainers, coaches, there's lots of people that say this, but it's not a loss or lack of motivation that you're feeling. Reframe it as, for example, the Krishna Bhakti blues. I don't feel like chanting my rounds today. I don't feel like chanting the holy names today. I don't feel like reading the Bhagavad Gita today. I don't feel like talking to God today. I don't feel like praying today. Okay. Do it anyway, and then reframe the way you're perceiving the lack of motivation. I'm feeling blue, you know? So the blues are nothing more than a good man feeling bad. you know, that's a famous saying, if I remember it correctly. So, I heard there was a funny thing. One of my friends, Win Paris, he was a kirtan singer, and he said, but in our case, Krishna is the blue man who wants to make you feel good. So, in Krishna consciousness, I think we have to understand that the feelings that we're feeling, any of them, are a reflection of something happening in the spiritual world, in the spiritual sky, in their reflection of something that's ideal and perfect and eternal. Even loss or lack of motivation, fear, despair, boredom, these are all moods, in heaven, that are just flowing here in this kind of reflected pool of temporary material experiences. So if we can even just philosophically have a sense of that, you can just talk to yourself a little bit when you're feeling that lack or loss of motivation, and say I'm trying to define it as lack or loss of motivation. I do not feel motivated. Or you can just say, I feel blue. I don't feel like my spiritual practice is doing anything for me. I feel like I suck at it. I don't feel like I don't want to do it, but then, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. If you can even just let yourself start to express those things as if you're singing them to God, find a rhythm in them, find something in those feelings that transmutes them into an offering to God. God's like, that's great. you're starting to realize every experience is me. Every experience is us together. So when you feel lack of motivation, turn it into the blues and give it to God somehow. Find some way of giving it to God. It's just that it's that little turn that I found helps. Not that I do it all the time, but it helps if you can turn it that way. Number two, find a way to chart what you've already done. One of the things that I'm doing is I'm getting a jar and I'm putting different blue shades of flat glass marbles in it to recognize the days that I've made of chanting. It's going on, I don't know, quite a few now, like going on, for 4 years. So to, recognize what you've done, what you've become. Find a way to chart what you've already done. Number three, take note of where you were prior to the things that you've done. So if you can say, hey, 5 years ago, I was here. Look at where I am now. You have to do that sometimes for yourself, just so that you don't, the motivation is lack of motivation. You have to do something so that you won't drop it. So you have to tell yourself something like, look at where I was, look at where I've come. So what else is possible? Maybe for now I'm plateaued, but 5 years ago, this would be an incredible place to be. You have to kind of step backward like that. Chart what you've already done, like enumerate it somehow, get a picture of it. Like for me, it's my jar with my marbles I'm going to do, because lately I've been feeling a lack of motivation too. But then take note of where you are now compared to where you were. A lot of your prayers are answered so sometimes gratitude is the best way out of a funk. And then number four, set some new goals. Set some meaningful new goals for yourself. Don't stop, obviously, but set some new goals. Maybe there's some different way that you could do your sadhana, your daily spiritual practice. If you're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, which I highly recommend you check out the mantra meditation video in my Bhakti archives, just learn to chant and do it every day. It's the best thing possible. But set new goals for yourself, whatever they might be. For me, it might be something like, I'm going to make sure that, I get my rounds done before I do this, which like before I have lunch, or, before I do this in the morning, whatever it could be for yourself. My routine has changed a little bit because of kids. So sometimes it's more changeable than I prefer. So sometimes I set little goals to make it a little bit more consistent rather than feeling all over the place. Whatever it might be, have fun making new goals for yourself. Maybe I'm going to write in a journal once a week, or maybe I'm going to, just something that you can do that's exciting. But always have meaningful new goals within your spiritual practice. Not that you're measuring your, oh, I'm so evolved because I hit my goals or something, but just new goals can help. Finally, last one, I started off saying this, be patient. Be patient with the plateaus. Your spiritual practice is being tested when you're plateauing, and you will grow eventually. It's like saying there's a drought and it, well, yeah, but it'll rain again. It's not just going to never rain again. So be patient, but don't stop. Know that plateaus are normal and that you have to live them out. And if you just keep showing up, eventually it will rain again. And when it does, you will more and more and more, you will appreciate and be able to live through and sustain those plateau periods. My recommendation, as I said, pretty much every video, is, if I had to boil it down, I'd be read a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita each day from the bhakti standpoint, chant your rounds each day, try to hear something about Krishna each week or each day, something about Krishna consciousness, the philosophy, or, the need to develop or cultivate love of God, love of source, love of others. And just don't give up. That's what I'm doing. And, pray for help, and go to people who are more experienced and ask questions, like you did to me, and like I do to people all the time, my own teachers. That's just how it works in bhakti. Just ask people for help. All right. Well, that's what I've got for you. And I hope that this was helpful. Hare Krishna.